Rigsby, author of FitYummyMummy, and the newest resource that is about to be released, Kettlebells for Busy Moms. I've been creating a series of videos to help you get started with kettlebells, giving you a crash course. So today's video is how to get started when it comes to kettlebell training. Number one, yes, kettlebells are completely safe to train with as long as you train smart, but the very first thing that you need to do is get your doctor's okay. Especially if you have pre-existing conditions or injuries or ailments, especially high blood pressure, just make sure that it's okay. If you're pregnant, I will say this. Yes, I trained with kettlebells throughout my pregnancy, even up to 9 months pregnant. However, I was training with kettlebells prior to becoming pregnant. And when I did train with kettlebells, I was working with a certified kettlebell trainer. Therefore, if you ask, can I start? I'm in my second trimester. I will say, likely not, unless you're going to work one-on-one with a kettlebell instructor who can guide and make sure that you are safe. So, kettlebell training, this is your crash course on how to get started. First of all, I get the question of what is a kettlebell? As I've shared, a kettlebell is an amazing fat loss tool, and it's something that I was able to go to right after Alexander was born. I have many reasons why, but it was really one of the tools that allowed me to stay motivated and stick to my fat loss workouts, so within 3 months I was able to shed the baby weight. Kettlebell obviously is different than a dumbbell, and here's one thing, kettlebell, dumbbell. This is not a kettleball, so make sure that you're pronouncing it correctly. But as you can see, it is shaped much different than a dumbbell. A dumbbell, the weight is distributed evenly between your hands. So when you pick up and you look at a kettlebell, it's distributed outside of your hand. And this is going to affect the movements that you perform with your workouts. And really to allow a lot of fluid movements to take place in your workouts. That flow type movement allows you to get a lot of work done without starting and stopping. With a dumbbell, sure, you've got the same weight. However, if you notice, when I put it in that racked position, it's kind of awkward and bulky. So that's one of the reasons why I do love using a kettlebell, is because it's just so dang comfortable to use. Now, the next big question that I get is, how do I choose a kettlebell? When it comes to choosing a kettlebell, just like when we talk about supplements or anything else that you're going to invest in, you want to look at quality, not how cheap something is. So while you might be tempted to run off to Walmart or Target to get the most trendy, cute little kettlebell that you can find, you got to take a step back and kind of consider the fact that you get what you pay for. That's why there are specific kettlebell sites that allow you to order kettlebells, because they make them for a living, they train with them for a living. There are so many different things to consider that as you advance in your kettlebell training, you will come to understand and embrace. But everything from the thickness of the handle, the feel of the handle, the height of the handle to the bell, you can really pick some up and see how they feel when you do hold them, because then when you go to start to do your exercises, you want it to feel comfortable in your hands. Now, as far as weight is concerned, and I've already had this discussion on Facebook, if you are a woman getting started with kettlebells, you want to choose anywhere between 8 and 12 kilograms. And yes, this works out to be 18 to 26 pounds. Some women kind of freak out because they're like, oh no, I can't handle that much weight. Yes, you can. You are stronger than what you think, and if you work with Barbie weights, your body's not going to change. Second of all, when it comes to kettlebell training and the way the kettlebell is designed, the last thing you want to do is work with a weight that is too light, because it will encourage improper form. If you're not working out properly with kettlebells, that's how you get hurt. So yes, you want to start off between 8 and 12 kilograms. This one is 8 kilograms. To me, this is light. That's why I have a 12 and a 16 that I like to use. The next most important tip is that you must learn proper form. The way to do this is to schedule an appointment to meet in person with a certified kettlebell instructor, because not only will you get to see and learn these movements in person, but in turn that instructor can watch your form and be able to give you the tips and the cues and the corrections to get the most out of each and every move and make sure that you're doing it safely. That being said, I do not personally work with people online, do I? No. I interact with you via video. So the next best step that you can take is, yes, you can double up and make sure and ensure that you have good form and proper instruction, but you can use the resources that I provide for you or other certified kettlebell trainers provide for you online by making sure you're investing in a quality program, which means that you look to make sure that the person on the other side of the camera is certified. Not just a certified trainer, but they are kettlebell certified. There are many different certifications that you can receive as a trainer. I personally went with Kettlebell Athletics, which is led by Jason C. Brown and Pamela McElry, based out of Philadelphia. So I have gone through the training, and I have the pleasure of meeting with Pamela and Jason several times during the year in order to make sure that my certification is up to par. Along with this, I also take kettlebell classes here in Louisville locally with Dave Randolph. He's the person that I went to right when I moved here because I too want to make sure that not only do I have that motivation, but if I have questions or maybe if he could see something that I could improve or want to increase the challenge with something, it's somebody that I can go to. So when you have a solid foundational resource that you can rely upon, that's when you're going to get the most out of your kettlebell workouts. The final step that I want to cover when it comes to getting started is that there are two basic moves that I want you to make sure that you've mastered before you even pick up a kettlebell. And they're just two lower body movements because a lot of people just turn to the kettlebell swing and they have looked at so many different variations of how to do it and they end up trying it and they end up with their back hurting or their knees hurting because they're not doing it properly. So we got to go back to the basics, and we have to start with the foundational lower body movements, which include the squat and the deadlift. The squat, as you know, is when you are going to be sitting back into your heels and your butt goes down to the ground. And when you sit back, I talk about sitting back, the first thing that you want to do is tilt your hips back. And when I do that, you see my toes wiggle, right? Well, I'll tell you about barefoot training in a second. So when you do that, you're going to be able to place your weight in the heels. You're going to be lowering down, back is flat, core is tight. Come down nice and low so your thighs are parallel to the floor. Knees are not extending past your toes. Then from here, you push out of your heels, squeeze those glutes and thighs, you come up to start. The reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of kettlebell movements require that you do squat type movements, squats or lunges. And you absolutely, if you do not have this right form down, you don't want to load your body with extra weight and do the squat improperly because that's where you end up with back aches and knee aches. Make sure you practice proper squat form. If you're not there yet, hold on to something as you're doing your squat. You can put a stability ball against the wall, lean your body back against it so you get familiar and used to that movement. The next most important lower body movement that you want to make sure that you can master is the deadlift type movement. It's a hip hinging movement. Now, if you lack in flexibility with your hamstrings, this is going to be difficult for you. So, once again, this is more of, making sure that you are conditioned enough to be able to pick up a brand new fat loss tool and use it effectively. The hip hinging movement. This is something where we like to teach the short stop position. But different than the squat, instead of your butt going down to the floor, your butt goes back to the wall, not down. So as you hinge forward, yes, you're going to tilt your hips back, but you're also leading with your chest, shoulders back, and if you put your hands right here by your hip bones, you'll feel that you are folding over. There will be a slight bend in your knee. Weight is in your heels as well. This is the hip hinging movement. So your butt goes back to the wall and you'll come down. You could practice this. We call this a bow. We call it a good morning. But you want to focus on chest out, back flat, butt to the wall. Slight bend in the knees. And if you are inflexible in the hamstrings, you're really going to feel that pull. So that's a sign that, hey, am I following a full body strength training program that includes warm-ups and cool downs and dynamic movements and mobility so that I can improve the condition of my body to be able to handle a new fat loss tool. So once again, hip hinge and then coming back up. I'm going to be covering the top mistakes in tomorrow's video and then the swing in a final video during the week, which the swing is one of the most popular kettlebell movements. If you don't know the difference between a squat and a hip hinging movement, you're not going to be able to master the swing. So that's why I gave you these two movements to focus on and practice before you even pick up a bell. So there's your crash course for getting started. Be on the lookout for more videos. Kettlebells for busy moms coming out soon.
Yeah.